very excited today to speak with Samantha Paxson, who's the Chief Experience Officer at Co-op Solutions. Welcome, Samantha. How are you?
I'm great, Lori. So great to be here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. No, thanks for the time today. Could you tell us a little bit about the organization Co-op Solution and your specific role there?
Of course. So, Co-op Solutions is a payments and financial technology organization that serves the nation's credit unions. So, we focus on primarily debit and credit processing, but all of the ancillary digital solutions, fraud solutions, technology stack, integration software, all the middleware that really creates an interaction and engagement opportunity for credit unions with their members. So even though I say we're a payments and financial technology company, I really see us as a growth strategy company. We help credit unions grow by engaging with their members.
Huh.
And then my job, my path as the chief experience officer is to really drive client-centric organizational change management. And so my job is to listen to the market, synthesize the data that we gain from the market. And that can be market trends. It can be what our clients tell us. It can be looking at our transaction data. We synthesize all of that and then go drive the right product investment choices, the strategies that we will undertake, and the decisions that we'll undertake, and the way that we continually optimize our organization to grow. So it's a really fun job. My main role is advocating for clients. So now I actually just expanded my role. I now run the project management office as well. So I actually go and run all of the change within Co-op, and
Wow.
it's an exciting thing to do.
So think it, do it. That's pretty exciting.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. That was a much better answer.
No, I love it. And I'm sure you may get calls from other organizations now and again. What keeps you working with credit unions? What do you like about credit unions?
Credit unions' hearts are always in the right places. I mean, I just love the mission-driven aspect of credit unions. I think they're so needed right now. And the consumer is incredibly empowered. They have the choice to go wherever they want. I think credit unions are the only organization that truly has the consumer's back and is able to truly design themselves around the consumer. So it's an interesting time to be in financial services. It's an interesting time to be in payments. It's a really it's a time of incredible volatility and incredible transformation. And so why not align yourself to an industry that matches your values? And so I really appreciate that about the credit union industry. And I'm a big change agent. I enjoy innovation. I enjoy transformational businesses, and it makes me feel good to work in an industry that is always wanting to do the right thing and is racing toward what's next.
That's cool. Yeah. Yeah. No, that's a great way to describe it. And this values alignment is so important for everyone. But I have a 21-year-old and, values, values, values. He's not going to deal with any organization which doesn't match his values. So
Right,
it's right
right.
up there on the radar. So, and credit unions don't need to create that. They're kind of based on these strong values. So that's pretty cool. Let's talk about digital. Because that is a big topic for every kind of financial institution and credit unions for sure. And, I saw a recent presentation of yours and there was a really good sort of description about digital 2.0, 3.0. So, can you describe the difference between 2.0, 3.0 in terms of that digital interaction and consumer insight?
Yeah. It's interesting. Digital transformation has been happening for probably the last 45 years. We have seen the convergence of businesses around truly being platforms. I mean, you take a look at Google, Amazon, Apple, Meta. I mean, at the turn of the century in the year 2000, some of these organizations existed, some of them were just beginning. And what they focused on was taking end products and delivering them in a digital way. So
Right.
the way that financial services has been viewing it when we were all started this digital transformation journey, we thought we have these end solutions, loans, wealth management, money movement, payments, and we think about those. Hey, if we offer them digitally, then we've digitally transformed. And what we're learning, that's digital 2.0. That was kind of the genesis of digital transformation.
Yeah.
We are now in digital 3.0, where the consumer can do anything right from their phone and expects that every organization that they work with knows them and has the capacity to add any solution set in a digital manner that is designed specifically for them. So
Right.
digital 2.0 was about delivering products digitally. Digital 3.0 is creating truly a platform business, an ecosystem of value that aggregates products that help drive an outcome for an individual. And that individual's behavior dictates what products or value bundles will come back to them in a way that helps them get whatever they're trying to get done in their financial life. So it's interesting where financial institutions, in the year 2000, we called them primary financial institution. We then went to primary financial relationship. How do I have ongoing relationship with the consumer? And that's how I will compete. We're now in a place where we're needing to really think longitudinally about how our solution sets fit together to drive an outcome for the member, for the consumer. And so that into this idea of a value, an ecosystem of value where we are platform companies bringing in use cases and looking at member data, member behavior that then feeds back in to what solutions will develop for that member. And it's all being able to be delivered digitally. So that's the place where if we have the capability to do that, that builds trust.
Right.
So most consumers, they see trust as, are you aligned with my values? Is this an organization I feel good about doing business with? And then trust is also, do you have the capability to meet my needs?
Right.
And that's where we're seeing traditional financial institutions like credit unions have a huge opportunity to race toward this idea of capability and designing themselves around the consumer to help with their overall financial outcomes.
So is that a challenge for most credit unions? And I guess maybe the question before that is, where are credit unions on this spectrum? Do you see a lot that are embracing this, that know what to do to move forward? Are there some struggling? How would you answer that one?
Credit unions are squarely in the digital 2.0 place,
right,
with a desire to get to digital 3.0. They are in a place where they have to shift their mindset, that the leaders have to not look at themselves as a series of verticals or a series of products that they sell that then feed their interest income and their non-interest income and their overall economic earnings portfolio.
Right.
They need to think about is how those solution sets fit together to drive an outcome for the member, for the consumer, that then brings them into the credit union, gets them, you want maximum product utilization. And I think that's where credit unions have just been thinking about the individual endpoints rather than thinking of themselves like an Amazon, rather than thinking of themselves like a Google, where I'm a platform. I'm going to bring all of these solution sets in for all of these micro segments of personas that I serve in my current member base, my next set of members that are going to come into my organization, and then the next markets I'm going to go after. It's a mindset shift, and that's partially driven by how we report to our boards, how we're just looking at what was our performance the last quarter, where we have an opportunity to really look at long-term growth, where We are in the battle for the members' primary financial interaction, moment by moment. Are we winning
Hmm.
that members' loyalty, transaction by transaction by transaction? And that's really the opportunity for credit unions to not look at things through their own operational lens, but to really look at it from a member behavior lens and say, how do I design myself as a platform to enable that interaction?
So it starts with a different perspective, that member centricity piece. And
Yep.
what role do fintechs play? Are they the enemy? Are they should credit unions be working with them? What's your perspective?
Build by a partner. It will depend on the fintech, but the benefit that fintechs have had is that they don't have legacy infrastructure, they don't have legacy processes. They're able to get really good at a singular use case and then build on that. If they get stickiness around that use case, and then they can build more use cases on top of that to create those value bundles. I mean, it's
Yeah.
basically taking solution sets and putting them together and to drive an outcome. So whether that outcome is wealth, whether that outcome is personal financial management, whether that outcome is just being able to pay for things day to day, whether that outcome is getting a loan. There's different fintechs for all of those things, but they're really seeing themselves as expanding into an ecosystem. So their mindset is already there. Fintechs are good to partner with. I mean, we even argue that my company is a fintech. We create the technology infrastructure and the flexibility to connect in to many different types of digital banking providers, cores, all of the technical infrastructure that a credit union has. We're able to make those connections and integrate. It's really what credit unions should be mindful of, the fact that fintechs and big tech have changed the space. Now, how do we stay laser focused on our members and design our model, either partnering with them, integrating with them, building some things ourselves? There's all different kinds of ways, but they're really winning. Fintechs, what we've seen in our research is that the consumer is wanting interaction and wanting engagement and wanting them to know you, so that they expect you to understand them through data. And then they want the use cases available to them. And those use cases are P2P, person-to-person payments, buy now, pay later, contactless cards, it's digital payments. Those types of use cases are the things that fintech got right, and they're building engagement and that primary financial interaction. And what that does is it slowly disintermediates the end consumer from the primary financial relationship.
Right.
And so the more that we think about, credit unions, their bread and butter has been interest income. So the challenge is that when your bread and butter is interest income, that's an every 3 to 5, maybe 5 to 7 year transaction, where the average consumer transacts 12 times a day with their payments technology. That 89% of Americans are comfortable using digital payments. And we as a credit union industry see some of those things as nice to haves and don't see them as our growth engine. It is the way that you are building a relationship with the consumer. So that's the consumer expectation, is you will be there for me in that moment that I need it. And that moment is 12 times a day when I'm trying to pay for my Starbucks, get an Uber,
Yeah.
go to the grocery store, like all of these
Yeah.
different things they're trying to do, and then try to understand, how am I doing in my financial life now that I've been so empowered and have disaggregated from a primary financial institution to all of these different use cases. It's really hard to see how I'm performing. Am I doing well in my financial life? So there's a lot of opportunity for credit unions to live their mission if they can win that primary financial interaction that fintechs have really trained the market to do.
Yeah. And I know there's a great paper that was released, I think it was in November, and it was called the CEO Summit Blueprint. And it was about building that new member centricity. I've had a read of it. I think it's a very valuable. I think we'll post it or whatever we need to do to get it out there. But what is the CEO Summit, and was that the topic at the most recent one? Is that where you've been exploring this idea with credit unions around member centricity?
Yes. So the research that we've done in the past, over the past 3 years, has focused on first, let's look at what members and prospects really want for their financial life. And do they believe that that is coming from credit unions? Who is the most trusted provider of financial services in their life? So for 3 years, we've partnered with EY and Feline Research Institute to really understand what consumers want. And we surveyed 2,000 existing credit union members and 1,000 prospects. And the most trusted brand was PayPal.
Huh.
And that, which was really among existing credit union members, the most trusted brand was
Wow.
PayPal. And year over year, their gains that fintechs have built trust by 500%. They've moved up that trust ladder dramatically, and PayPal is at the top. So when credit unions look at, well, what's most important to you for your credit union, they primarily say loans, and yet the consumer is saying payments.
Mm.
So we got the nation's top CEOs together and said, let's unpack what we need to do in order to meet this opportunity gap where your member is saying, I want this, and you're focused on this. And
Yeah.
really, what the CEO is saying is, I'm concerned with earnings, member experiences, expenses, and I'm also really overwhelmed by all of the change that's happening in the market and what strategic investment decisions I should be making, what bets should I be making in order to win. So we got the CEOs together and we did a three-day brainstorm, what we're calling CEO Summit. This is something that we do a lot with our clients. We have co-creation councils with our clients. We have our Think conference. We have our CEO Summit. It's a way that the nation's top leaders, we serve 3,000 credit unions. So it's a great way to aggregate brain power and
Yeah, for sure.
solve problems together. So they came up with 7 steps to really go activate where credit unions need to be the most essential type of financial services available to consumers today. So I'm happy to walk you through those
I'd
7.
love it. And I'm sure our listeners and viewers would love it as well. If you
Great.
could. Thank you.
No problem. So the first is build on a foundation of service. And when we think about service, I've worked in credit unions for 17 years. When many credit unions think about service, it is knowing the member when they walk through the door of the branch. When we think about this foundation of service, what is the journey map for service in a completely digital world? We prove to ourselves that we can deliver 100% digitally when we survived the pandemic. What does our service model need to look like, and how does it need to change? So that thinking, that experience mapping needs to start there,
Right.
and that we can win as an industry on service. So there's a big opportunity to have your marketing team, your retail team, your digital team collaborate, understand your personas that your credit union serves, and map how they come into you and where do you need to improve those interactions and create the opportunity for those interactions to make sure they utilize the credit union to its maximum capacity.
Right.
So number 1, build on the foundation of service. Number 2, modernize your technology infrastructure. So these are big capital investment decisions, and they sometimes you're not able to demonstrate an ROI in year. Sometimes those capital investment decisions take a few years to actually come to fruition. They're longer term projects. So In order for us to be a platform business, we need to make sure that our tech stack and our operating model fit together in order to truly be able to compete in today's environment. So that technology infrastructure is key. Third, optimize your data. What is pretty magical, Co-op, my company processes almost 10 billion transactions a year. That is a treasure trove of data and a treasure trove of member behavior. We're able to see what those members are doing on those, on average, 12 transactions a day. We can see their spending habits. We can see what they might be into from a life stage perspective.
Right.
We can help them understand their overall financial position and then service them, help them take action on different choices. It's an incredible opportunity to demonstrate that you know your member. So that was most of the credit unions CEOs were saying, we have data, we don't have our processes around how to use it,
Right.
and how to monetize it, and how to drive the right insight from a member service perspective. So data optimization should be something on every credit union's roadmap. The fourth item is redefine financial wellness. So back to this idea of, gosh, with data and understanding member behavior, how can I advise my members to help them understand their financial position and then offer them solutions for how they could make different choices or optimize their overall financial outcomes in their life. This is something that is really needed in the market, and there really isn't anybody winning on this. So if we can really demonstrate our value proposition in this way, that we understand you and we have the digital solutions that you need to get your daily financial life done, and then we're going to advise you on how you could be better in the future.
Right.
That is a huge, that's core to who credit unions are, and the consumer needs it.
Yeah, agreed.
Number 5, establish payments as the path to growth. So I see a lot of credit union CEOs say, I don't really understand payments, and I don't have anybody on my executive team that is focused on it. It's typically further down in the organization. And this is the primary driver of growth and interaction and engagement and utilization that then drives to those bigger ticket revenue items on the interest income side of the house. So huge opportunity to lift up payments and really make it your primary way of engaging with your member. It's actually a service lever for your member.
Yeah.
And the 6th item is really protecting against future risk. How do you shore up fraud mitigation, security, making sure that all of those things surrounding that engagement won't break trust with the member, and also making sure that we're anticipating these future trends. Not, strategy is a series of actions that hang together to drive an outcome. I think in our industry, we've been, and what the CEO said is that we've kind of been leaning on the set of assumptions that interest income is going to take us into the future and be okay. We have an opportunity to really challenge those assumptions and to say, is that really going to be the path forward, given all of the new players in the space and the ways that consumers are so empowered? They expect ecosystems of value. How are we making sure that we deliver that seamlessly and securely? And then 7, the last one, if we do those things, we're going to attract some pretty good talent. I mean, you were talking about your son wanting to do business and work for an organization that is aligned with their values.
Yeah.
And if you're doing something that's exciting and forward thinking and leaning into what's next, you'll attract and develop the talent that you need in order to continually modernize and optimize what a credit union is. So this is what the nation's top CEO said. Wow, in order for us to deliver on what we're seeing in the marketplace, these are the steps that we need to take together.
Yeah, no, those are great. I mean, the whole, the economics of the margin spread and the traditional slower way of bringing that income in, I think that's well taken. Has there been some modeling work by this group, or is that what you do in terms of what do the new financials look like? If we're not relying on interest income, is it around payments? Where do we make our money, I guess is the
Well,
question.
it's the convergence of those things. It's
Yeah.
understanding, it's looking less at product verticals and looking more at revenue bundles of solution sets that drive
Okay.
interaction, engagement, and utilization of the credit union. So I'm getting my MBA right now, and one of the things that my finance professor talked about was this idea of revenue bundles or rundles. That
Rundles. Okay.
rundles, how do solution sets come together, and to not only drive an outcome for the end consumer, but have we mapped how those product lines come together to then feed our economic engine? So you could almost map those to the ways that
Yeah.
those drive revenue. So
Yeah.
it is interesting. And then you have to say, okay, how do I take, what does my project cost structure look like? So there is a lot for the CFO to do and to think differently. I think our CFOs, we tend to look at things in a pretty, we look at things on from a product line by product line by product line perspective.
Yeah.
And what's the ROI on that particular product line? We almost need to look at the member as the P&L. Like,
Yes.
the member is at the center of how do we drive up member economic participation so that we're selling in as many things as possible. When we get ideas for new solutions, we're seeing ways that we can maximize that usage. And a company like Amazon is a great example. They're not looking product by product by product by product. They're creating every way that you would engage with any brand. They're making it possible. They're connecting buyers and sellers. They're now getting into the healthcare space.
Yeah.
I mean, they started as a bookseller, and if their
Yeah.
mindset was always let's sell books, that would have kept them in a really limited mindset.
Yeah.
Opening their mindset at like, we are a platform business that can create better outcomes for our consumer. How do we increase utilization so that every part of their lives is connected to our company? It's the same thing that credit unions can think about. They can look at what are all the adjacent services and solutions that we could bring into our ecosystem of value that would build trust and would build utilization and would build stickiness. And that's how we think about our overall growth. And we stay true to our mission. How do we do that all through the lens of people helping people?
Yeah. And there's lots in those 7 recommendations. One quick one I do think though is like there is a payments person in every credit union, but they typically do not sit at the executive table. So just that move alone, getting line of sight and having those different conversations around payments. I sometimes think payments are they're a bit of an afterthought. They're not the main of what we do. But then, PayPal, most trusted brand, my goodness, that's, kind of all you need to hear, right?
Well, when you think about it, when you think about how you yourself as a human being engage, the average consumer has 5 different financial relationships. And that's a very conservative estimate. They have 5, I've seen it up to 20. You're trying to win the engagement multiple times a day.
Yeah.
So when do you personally use Venmo over PayPal, over which subscription is what payment method is tied into Amazon Prime, into your Netflix account, into Hulu and Disney Plus, DoorDash? We're all living. I mean, we have to think of things through a human lens rather than our own operational lens and the financials that we look at all the time. There needs to be a mix there, and that we open our minds to what our growth potential actually could be.
Yeah.
Payments,
Yeah.
payments is that interaction model, and we need to put it more at the center of what we do.
Yeah. No, that's just great. So let's segue into my last couple of questions here. Let's talk about that leadership and thinking about future leaders. You know, what are key ingredients from your lens and the work you do that future leaders need to have? You know, they need to show up with. We need to cultivate for them to help us with this imagined future that will be reality quicker than we think.
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's something that that I've thought a lot about in the last and over my 30-year career. Digital organizations, digital first organizations, digital 3.0 are connected organizations. And connected organizations require empathy, compassion, good listening skills, and the ability to understand across an organization and connect that organization together. Really good, really high EQ as well as high IQ. You have to build trust across an organization where you attract people who want to come and work with you. So this idea of, you also have the other part of leadership is having the ability to synthesize a lot of information and see the insight in that really strong critical thinking across multiple areas is something that we all need to be able to do. So those things are hard. Like those
Yeah.
things are that ability to build strong relationships across an organization, create psychological safety, enable people to not be perfect and to speak up and to bring ideas, the ones that are closest to the customer, the ones that are closest to the member, have a lot of the thinking that probably needs to kind of bubble up to the C-suite and to the board.
Yeah.
And the more that I've found, the more that a leader is really seen as a person that connects people, that is trusted, that is somebody that in an organization that people want to come to, the more that they make that possible, they rise faster. They're good problem solvers. They have a growth mindset. They're positive. These are the things that are going to get things done. This is how you're able to transform an organization. On the flip side, a fixed mindset, demonstrating your value by saying why something won't work or how it won't work without offering a solution. Telling people to stay in their lane. Like we want it. Business is what happens in the space between functions. It's how functional areas come together to be connected and integrated. These are the ways that Google has gotten ahead. They actually published a study on their most effective teams and their most effective leaders. And it was not STEM skills that had the most talented and effective leaders. It's exactly those components that I said. It was creating psychological safety, being able to think critically, being able to create connectivity between functional areas, being able to generate something from nothing, like really being able to really ideate and problem solve creatively. Those are the type of leadership principles. And also never forgetting to really be authentic and genuine. And it goes such a long way in having people follow you and getting them on board and building consensus. So directive, top-down hierarchical leadership was the 20th century. The 21st century is connective leadership. And that's why diverse leadership teams are so critical. It ensures that you're not having a singular type of thinking where you could have a complete blind spot.
Yeah, no, that's an excellent answer. There's a lot, and I think it's exciting. I think that's a lot more exciting than top-down hierarchical leadership. Stay in your lane. So I do think the next generation is itching for that. So hopefully,
I think everyone itches for that. That's a team I want to be on.
Yeah, for sure.
on a flat team, one that shares ideas. I do my work and I share it with team members 3 levels down from me, and I say, tell me what you think. Can I get some feedback? That vulnerability is so important, and it builds trust. I mean,
Yeah.
it just gets people to want to work with you. And I think that that is so important, to build strong organizations.
Yeah.
It
Yeah, for
creates that
sure.
connectivity.
So I have one last question. It's a fun question. I hope everything's been fun, but we have this little vault here. We're calling this actually, this is Luddite 3.0, I believe, but I have a couple of fun questions in here. So let me just
Ooh.
oh, hang on. There we go. So, all right. So these are off the cuff, just to get you thinking. What is the best sandwich? The best sandwich in your life?
Well, my son is allergic to nuts, and I hate that. It's so scary, but I'm a peanut butter and jelly girl, and
Yeah,
I don't ever get it. And I would love to have a good old fashioned PB&J,
yeah,
um, with the crust cut off.
yeah. You gotta get that from room service the next time you're
I
ordering out.
know.
And my last question for you: what is your favorite smell?
Mm, the ocean.
Yeah, yeah,
The
no,
ocean. I love a good marine layer, and it makes me feel like home. I grew up in Southern California, and in a beach town, Dana Point, California, and that whenever I smell that marine layer, and like, home, I'm
home,
home. So
home.
it's my
Those are
favorite.
great answers. Well, you've given us so much valuable information today, and I know you're a very busy person. I just want to thank you for participating in this, and have a great day.
Thanks, Lori. It's been my pleasure.